Good afternoon. This is the Pyramid Show here live on Joy News Television. Now, from last week, we began a series on the many materials you can use for the construction of a house or a building. Now, today, in focus, we pay attention to the use of building blocks. We are going to get to understand its properties, its advantages of using them, and also get to ascertain what a quality blocks look like, and also its functions. This and more we'll be bringing you today. But in the meantime, if you've ever used blocks for the construction of your house or still in the process of using blocks for the construction of your house, you would want to tell me your experiences, your lessons, and also as a prospective owner, you would want to share with me what you would want to know with the use of blocks. This is once again the Pyramid Show. We'll be back after this break. Thank you for staying with us. My name is Emmanuel Owusu-Ansah. In studio today to help us with this important discussion, we have with us Mr. Sami Ejay. He is currently the CEO for Judge Shiloh Construction Limited, a block manufacturer himself, and also an experienced engineer, a builder. He has over 2 decades of practice experience. And Mr. Francis Zato, lead project manager and co-founder of El Zato Group Limited. Gentlemen, thank you for making time to be part of our show today. Let me come straight to you, Sami. Sami, I would want you to tell us, basically, what are blocks and what are the different kinds of blocks we can use for the construction of our houses?
So blocks, in actual fact, is supposed to replace stones. So instead of blocks, so the strength of a block has to, first of all, come or be almost very close to stones. Then over here, there are so many types, like we have the sandcrete, then we have the concrete, then before we have the quarry dust, so there's in between that. Before then, also other materials, like people are using plastic for blocks. And other things that we can't mention for now.
Okay, Zato?
Yes. So I think for the types of blocks, what the block is, he has perfectly explained what the block is. But for the types of block, I think we can categorize them on what is mainly used. So we have the cement base. We have different types of cement-based blocks. Then we have blocks that also do not necessarily have cement in them. And even the ones with the cement base, we can also differentiate them between the sizes or whether it's solid or it's hollow. So you can have solid blocks, hollow blocks, and even that one we have interlocking. So there are different kinds of blocks depending on the criteria you want to differentiate them based on, whether it's the material composition or the mold that was used to do it or the sizes that were used to be made. I think that's what we say for now.
Now, here in a part of the world, that is Ghana,
yes.
Mostly is the use of the quarry dust blocks. I don't know if I'm right, quarry dust or what is the other name? I understand there are 2 kinds of blocks.
Yeah, so we have the quarry dust.
Yes.
Then we have the sandcrete.
And the sandcrete.
Then we have the concrete.
Okay, so we have concrete blocks itself. Then we have the sandcrete.
Yeah.
Then we have the quarry dust.
Yes.
Now, you'd want to tell us the difference between these 3 blocks?
So I think I would like to make it like it's almost 2. We have sandcrete,
okay,
which is, let's say, sand, or you replace it with quarry dust.
Okay.
Or the concrete, which has coarse aggregates in it, a bit of stones in that one. So that's the difference. For me, that's what I would say.
But what we normally see builders use, how would you call it?
That's the sandcrete block.
That's the sandcrete
block.
So understanding this, past times we used to have what was purely made of sand. And in present day, I see a lot of block manufacturing companies using the quarry dust, the aggregated sand. So I think I'm lost. You would want to explain further for me.
Okay, so like you said, it used to be, way back, it used to be purely sandcrete.
Purely sand.
Purely sand. Now you have people, especially because of shortage of sand at some parts of Accra and wherever we find ourselves. And because of advancement, people are using quarry dust more. Then, just like my brother said, with the quarry dust, some people also mix it with a bit of the 8mm chippings, granite, to make it the concrete. So from afar, the concrete and the quarry dust is very similar, and that is what is dominating the market now. So a lot of people are using, let's say, the concrete blocks.
Okay, from what you just said, you giving me the impression people are embracing the quarry dust because there is non-availability of the sun. Is that the case, or is rather per scientific, decisions, quarry dust probably is stronger than that of the sun? Sam?
The strength is part of it. It's part of the reason why people use more of the quarry dust than the sand. Simply because the dust and that's the quarry dust, whether you're also using the 8mm chippings, whether it's quarry dust or concrete, you can guarantee the materials, or you can guarantee the dust, you can also guarantee the chippings as well. But when it comes to sand, you can't guarantee the quality of sand. You may have correct sand today, and tomorrow it's filled with a lot of foreign materials. So it's also part of the reason why people are shifting from the sandcrete to more of the concrete blocks.
You mean the quarry dust blocks?
Yeah,
but then I'll be asking this. I mean, sand naturally is supposed to be dirty. It's supposed to be, it's no surprise when you have impurities or foreign materials in sand. So why that argument that sand, ideally, you wouldn't find it pure?
So I would like to mention that, so sand, depending on where it's found, and depending on the location, if you have a place that they are doing predominantly sand winning, you find more of a bit of quality sand than sometimes if you find people just fetching sand by the roadside, other people are just fetching sand at different places just to get their sand. So the question you asked earlier on, I think I also like to add to what Samir said. It's also predominantly because of the workability. If you take the sand and you want to get an effective or a quality block, you need to go and sieve it and take out all these debris from it. Yeah. But with the sawdust, not sawdust, sorry, the quarry dust. Sorry, the quarry dust, you just go and you are able to work with it, and you don't have to sieve. And the particles of the quarry dust are fine. They are uniform. Sand, sometimes you find either foreign materials or sometimes even other lumps in the thing that you have to now be able to separate all those things to get a uniform sand to be able to use to do your concrete blocks.
Okay, now I would want to know which of these blocks did you use for the construction of your property, or currently using for the construction of your property? Is it with the concrete or is it with the blocks? And like I said, if you're a prospective homeowner, what do you want to know? Tell me or send me a WhatsApp on 0500 180 697, 0500 180 697. You can also send me an SMS on that same very number, 0500 180 697, and we shall be responding to your question. Now, you've been mentioning foreign materials. What is foreign materials?
So it's anything that is not wanted for in whatever you are using. So if you are doing in terms of construction, I would say things like roots, branches, trees, sticks, others unwanted stones, and all those things. Those are foreign materials.
So when they are found within this mix for the blocks, what happens to it? What are the effects if these things are not taken proper care of?
Then it affects the compressive strength of the blocks.
Okay.
Because they are, like he said, these are unwanted materials. They are not supposed to be there. So they affect the strength, for that matter, may affect the overall strength of the building.
Now that's interesting. You're talking about strength of blocks, and I never knew strength has blocks. And how is it measured? And what is the strength a block is supposed to have? Okay,
so for instance, the average blocks is supposed to have a strength ranging from 3.75 Newton to 17.5 Newtons. Literally, you are talking about 34 kg to 117 kg. That's the strength. But these are things that can be difficult to measure. So, for instance, when you are buying your 4-inch block, you should expect the weight of the 4-inch block to be around 14 kg. Then when you are buying your 5-inch solid blocks, you should also expect it to weigh between about 17 kg. Mm-hmm. Then your 6-inch blocks, you also weigh a minimum of about 23 kg. So once you are having these kgs, then know that, yes, I'm buying quality 4 inches block, 5 inches or 6 inches blocks.
Okay, now let me ask this. So that is a clear factor in identifying quality blocks. What are some of the factors you have to see, or some of the qualities you expect?
Okay. Yeah. So, but I would like to even digress a little bit before I answer the question. When we talk of quality, it's not great. So quality basically is linked to your scope. So whatever you are going to do, then the requirements that you need to meet So for instance, if you are doing a building that requires you to have very lightweight blocks, so the fact that you are using a hollow block doesn't mean the hollow block is
no quality.
It's not quality. So the requirement, quality is enshrined in scope. So whatever scope that the project is requiring you to have, that one determines what the quality that you should go for. So the quality is not like a higher grade of anything. So you can have quality, you can measure quality in terms of strength, as my colleague was mentioning. Yeah. So you can check different strengths to determine a quality block. You can also look out for the thermal insulations in blocks, water absorption in blocks, then the fire resistance in blocks, and then there are so many, even dimensional compatibility. You know, there are sometimes that people mold blocks and then their blocks are not the same size. Yeah, so you can buy blocks that maybe during the one that was manually molded, sometimes the person is taking out the mold and then the mold shifts. So a part of the block has tilted a little bit. So that way, if you are going to use to lay a wall, now you are going to put your spirit level on it and then the part is tilted, you not really get an accurate or a straight wall. So quality can be measured in different ways. So I'll just sum up. So like the moisture, fire resistance, the strength, as you was mentioning, then also the durability. That is like how strong or how far the block can withstand external conditions and still last for a longer time.
Okay. Sammy, with you, you are a block manufacturer. I've seen people mold blocks manually where you see the workmen with the shovel and spade mix it. Then I've also seen the industrial, machines being used to produce blocks. Which of these two is the best?
The machine is the best.
The machine
is the best. The manual one, especially the one you just see a guy just holding the form. Normally they come in metal form.
The mold.
Then you just put in the sand. They raise it, hit it on the ground. Then they use their shovel just to clear the surface and use their float on the surface. Then they just go and remove it out. That one is a no-go area at all. So even for extreme condition where because of ABCD reasons, which obviously finance is the most part of it, there are manual forms which adds a bit of compression that you can go for. But the one I just described earlier is nowhere at all. Okay. But for safety, good quality, assured blocks, it's machine all the way.
It's machine all the way. You would want to walk us through how properly it's done, because I understand to achieve the strength you're talking about, proper thermal and insulation, achievement, you have to properly mix it. You are a block, factory. You have a block factory. That's why I'm asking you this question before I come back to Zato on this. How is the process like with the mixing? What kind of cement do you have to use? Is it the 32 or the 42? I would want to understand it.
It has to be, for now, it has to be the 42. 42 is what is recommended to be used when molding blocks, especially if you want high quality and durable blocks. That's what you have to use. The mixing, if you want a guarantee mix, that okay, once I get this mix, I'm on top. It has to be 2:1, which normally, let's say we use the wheelbarrow. So once you use, let's say 1 wheelbarrow of plus the, so it has to be 2 items, 2 of the that's the materials to 1 bag of cement. Once you get that, then you are having a good quality blocks.
So ideally, how many blocks do you make out of a bag of cement? Talk about 6-5 inches.
Yeah, you just mentioned. It depends on the type. The type, whether you are doing hollow, you are doing solid, and all that. But you are also looking at in between, depending on the quality you are looking for. I said we have range of quality. You are looking at between 25 to 40 thereof.
Okay, Zato, now talking about, the process for the manufacturing of a quality block, what do you think manufacturers should pay attention to?
So for our settings here, predominantly we do the one he described right now. If it's concrete block, then you mix the right ratio. But I would like to also mention that we have cement blocks that also have other additives added to it. We have cement blocks that we have the AAC blocks. That one they have other things they've added to the cement, plus the sand and the lime. And then they add a foaming agent to it. Then they make that block. It's more durable, it's lightweight and all that. And we have even different kinds of mixtures. We have other ones that they add fly ash to the sun, then they mold the block and all that. So there are different ways, and all these I'm mentioning are machine mix. Manually, you will not be able to do that at your own home. So you have different types of cement mixing with other materials together with the sun or without the sun to get all those mixed. And the ratio he was mentioning is very critical. You want to get the right material ratio that you are using to mix. At least that one can guarantee. There are other factors that can guarantee even the quality of materials you have used. But if you get a right ratio mix and you produce a block, you are at least halfway through that. Okay, this your block is going to be very durable.
Okay, so it's also important that you get to tell me your experience if you've ever built before. Which of these blocks did you use for the construction of your house? And if you have plans to do one or build one, tell me what you want to know. Ask me all the questions that you are confused about on 0500 186 97 via SMS or, WhatsApp. Thank you. That was a close one. So let's come back to, the block production. I would really want to understand this better. Now you are telling us that it's good if you go with the automated machines. As an individual, considering the cost of the blocks, probably I'm doing an industrial building and I would want to cut down on the cost of the blocks. Can I buy the machine, employ workmen, they produce it on the side for me? Or you think, because of standard and quality, I should always make sure I buy it from a certified block manufacturer?
Like you just mentioned, commercial building, or big buildings, last words, which can be subjective, what is commercial, so it ranges. But once you are doing anything, you need anything above 20,000, 30,000 blocks, and you decide to have a setup, yes, you can do that. You can buy they have some handy ones that come very small, which is also fairly durable, that you can buy them, mount them on your site, get an experienced guys around who have an experience of molding blocks, then they can come and assist you for you to, produce the blocks on site. It can be done if that's what you want to do.
It can be done.
If not, you can outsource by buying from outside. That also gives you the peace of mind that you need.
Okay, Zato. Now, the debate between the sand blocks and the quarry dust blocks. People have the impression sand blocks is entirely wrong to produce. What do you have to say?
Oh, not necessarily. Usually the debate should not be about the material. It's more about the workmanship, the process it was gone through before it was produced. You have a like for instance, the hydraulic press block making machine. If you have sand there, they have a place that the sand is sieved. And that sand comes out with a uniform granulars that is also mixed with the cement, and they mix with the right ratio before it goes into the process of making the block. So the sawdust, for me, I will equally encourage the sawdust because it's a byproduct.
The
quarry dust. So for me, I will usually encourage the quarry dust because the byproduct of something else. So we are looking at more of the eco-friendliness. The quarry dust is probably from a quarry that is making chippings or other things. So that quarry dust could have been thrown away. But now we have found a way of using it to make blocks. So for me, I think that is a very sustainable means, or instead of going to now dig in the ground and excavate sand, causing a lot of erosion and other things. So I think I would not necessarily say I will go with the quarry dust block because of durability or its strength. All of the whether sand or quarry dust, either of them can be produced and you have the very durable block. But I will choose the quarry dust because it's more sustainable. Instead of throwing the quarry dust from the quarries away, we are using it to do something productive, we are using it to do something innovative, and we will not end up degrading our environment. And we have to clear down a lot of trees just to win sand for blocks. So I think the quarry dust, I would choose it based on sustainability purposes.
So you still peg the quarry dust?
Yeah, I will stay with the quarry dust.
Okay,
Sammy? I just want to, yes, I agree with him, but just to throw a caution out there that, yes, quarry dust, by and large, is you are guarantee of a bit of quality than the sand. But I also want to say and stress on it that it's not all quarry dust or concrete looking blocks are of quality. There are a lot of people out there that they just want the quarry dust and they add almost to nothing cement.
Yeah.
So it may look like concrete blocks, but in feeling it and working or testing it, you realize that it is bad. So that's where we need to be careful. Not all concrete blocks are poor and not all concrete blocks are solid. it has to be tested by a qualified person or yourself. There are basic ways of testing for you to find out whether these blocks I'm buying is of a certain quality or not.
Now, on that note, as a layman, when I go to the block factories, how do I know these blocks I want to buy are of quality?
So there are basic ways. There's a test we call the drop test, where you can raise the block above your chest or at your chest level. Then you drop it down. It has to, sometimes if it's that very solid, it's come unscattered. Nothing happens to the blocks. You pick it solid like the way you pick it up. If it breaks into two, that's just two. It doesn't also mean it's very bad. But once it's all over the place, it means the quality is very low.
That's a very simple way of getting
that's
it.
the quality. Also, you are looking at the edges of the blocks. Sometimes even at the factory itself, you realize that all the edges are broken. So once you test, which is called the finger test, once you do that test and realize that look, it looks like it's flaking all over, then it means the quality is also very low. Then we also have the nail test, where that one maybe the average woman can do, but the man, if you have a builder around you, you can take any nails, especially the wire nails. I say the wire nails because you expect by and large concrete nails to be able to enter. But once you are even nailing a wire nail and it can't go, then you realize that the quality is also very low. You also look at the chisel test, where you look at, mason cut blocks, when they are working with it. They always don't work. So once they put in the chisel or the cutting, and it just goes like cutting through a hot, using a hot knife into a bread. I mean, it becomes too easy to, or into a butter, sorry. It becomes too easy to cut. Then that also raises an alarm that the quality of the blocks is problematic.
But I'm thinking the Ghana Standard Authority should be giving these producers a certification just to check the quality of blocks they do.
Yes,
Is that the case?
Oh, that's the case. I think if, with what we are, like the whole discussion, if you are doing your simple house in your own way, one of the things that you have to look out for is that your planning, before you begin your building, at least you should plan and realize that, okay, where can I get quality blocks to buy? You should go and get, so you can also survey around that, okay, instead of maybe I want to rush and just buy anything by my side, if I travel to even another town, and I get a certified block builder or a block maker, and the person has a license from the Ghana Standard Authority, you are guaranteed of your building lasting. So it doesn't necessarily, so everything boils down to planning, and sometimes you have to get a procurement or an architect to guide you. Or, for instance, if you are buying products, you can always get a procurement person to advise you what to do. Because you can realize that if you had gone a little further to even buy from a certified block manufacturer, you have good quality. Even the masons wouldn't struggle a lot even aligning your blocks, and the building will last. And depending on where you are building it, you realize that your building may not start having a lot of dampness quickly, because the ratio they used to mix the blocks that you bought by your roadside, or even making it yourself. So all that decision boils down to, before you start building, sit down and analyze, plan, like what the Bible was saying, that which of you want to build a house and not sit down and plan the cost. So you have to sit down and actually plan, do I buy from where who is my available source, and who is a trusted source? You have to get and get all that done before you even start the whole building process. Okay,
thank you very much. Now let's talk about the different sizes we have and why we have them. Sam?
Okay, so there are so many, but over here we have the 5 inches, we have the 4 inches first, then the 5 inches, then 6 inches, then 8 inches normally, unless otherwise.
These are solid or hollow?
Then within the 4 inches normally don't come hollow, they always come solid. By the 5 inches we have hollow, the 6 inches we have hollow, then the 8 inches we have hollow as well. Both the concrete and the concrete.
Is that true?
Yes. So I think just in line with what he said is we have different. So the difference is the mold that you are using to produce it, but the material that makes everything the same. Okay. So if you mold it with a solid mold, you get a solid block, and the mold comes with different sizes. And then when you use it, you get different, and then that also depends on what they are using the block for. So that's also inform you on what size you go for. Okay.
Now my question has always been this. We see almost every house being built with 6 inches blocks. And I'm asking myself, why do we put more weight on the foundation? Because elsewhere, you realize that the building envelope, that is the external walls, they are probably made of blocks, and the internal walls, they are made of dry walls. So if they are using dry walls, I mean plaster boards, if they are using plaster board for the internal partition, how come we cannot use 4 inches? Because one, it's going to save us money, and also it's not going to put a lot of weight on the building. Is that what?
Yes.
Before I go to something.
Yes. So I think it all boils down to being educated on what to do. You see, you don't just see people building and also go and start building. That's one of the mistakes that a lot of people do. Once you also have money, doesn't mean you should start building. It all boils down to the planning. As I was mentioning earlier on, when we talk of quality, it doesn't necessarily mean the block that is heavier or the block that is stronger. That's another way of checking quality. That's the durability. But we have quality that is, if you are looking to do a building that is very lightweight, you can even do your foundations with the hollow blocks. I know predominantly in Nigeria, they do a lot of foundations with the hollow block from start, even whatever story, they do hollow blocks and all that. Yeah. So it doesn't mean that the hollow block in your foundation means the building is weak or the building is not strong. If you do the structural component of the building well enough, you don't need a block to add a lot of weight in your building. And as well, you see, the hollow blocks too have a lot of thermal insulation because of the holes within it. So it's difficult for heat to travel in and out as compared to the solid blocks. And you know how heat transmits. So you have to always sit down and ask yourself, what am I going to do? What is my aim? Am I looking to do a building that has a very strong, solid wall, or I'm looking to do a building that is of very light, solid walls, or I'm looking to do a building that can save me a lot of heat, thermal insulation? So all that influences the type of block you should go for. But not that because everyone is building with 6 inches, then you even start molding the 6 inches before you even get a building plan done. So nobody can advise you again because you're already going to mold 6 inches, 30 bags down. You are now going to meet an architect. The person can even advise you that, oh, let's use hollow blocks.
Okay,
that's what I say.
I agree with everything Zato just said. And I will also add that part of the way we make some of these decisions is the way we've been trained in terms of the way we think as a people. I remember using 5 inches blocks, hollow, on a parapet wall for a client, and he was furious. I nearly lost my job.
I see.
You know, because he has the one rule. In my house, everything has to be 6 inches. You know, everything has to be. So it's the way we think. And it's not only even the block world in terms of blocks. When it comes to building, there are so many things we do that are over the board. Sometimes we add too much iron rods, too much of a lot of things that are not scientifically proven and necessary, but we end up doing them. There are so many areas within the building, and the functions the block is playing in your building that should determine the size. For instance, if is your block a load, is easy carrying load. If it's meant to carry load, then of course that will determine the size and even the strength you have to use. If it's just partition, which can be done by anything, like you just said, we are in the studio and most of the partitions are done with a lot of prefab materials, plaster boards, glasses, and the rest. So the functions that those things can do is the same thing. You can use 4 inches blocks to do some of these things. We can use 4 inches block easily, for instance, for your fence wall, in case you want to know. Your fence wall, it's carrying no load. Once you get a good quality solid 4 inches block, you should be able to use it. Division in between the, especially a bathroom and a shower joined together, that's just a partition. You can use 4 inches blocks to do some of these things. And it will save us a lot of cost when we begin to make some of these tiny, but eventually they become major in the overall scheme of the building.
Okay, so the question is it because the block manufacturers are simply not producing the 4 inches blocks or the 5, or is just our designers not being up to the task? If you just joined the program, this is the Pyramid Show here live on Joy News Television. We take a break, the show returns. Welcome back. It's now time to hear all that you've been saying.
Hi, I'm Audrey Kafui-Dushi, and I'm here. It's quite an exciting discussion ongoing in the studio. I'm here to read your concerns on the topic. What is that mistake you did when constructing your building? So we zoom in. You can join the interactivity by sending in your comments on Twitter at @thepyramid_show or on WhatsApp. The number is 0500-180-697. So our first comment coming in is from Oyibo Boateng from Achima Nirebi in Kumasi. What makes a block more quality and resilient? Is it aggregation? Is it size? Is it the compact, or is it the sand? Hello Joy, can I use sand washed by rain? Very fine for blocks. That's coming in from John. If you get an experienced molder, the manual one is stronger than the machine one. You can use trowel to break machine blocks into two, unlike manual ones. Good afternoon, I'm Ima from Kumasi. I built my house using sand for my blocks, and I've seen some damp-proof. What should I do? Please, do you use explosive to blast the quarry dust? If yes, then it's not good. I have a land which is waterlogged. Please, which of the blocks mentioned on the show will be fitted for my house? So another one is coming in from Isaac Obain Darko from Kaswa. Please, assuming I'm a layman and I want to buy blocks, how can I know that this block is quality? River sand, surface sand, which is better? That's from Sedo from Jasekine. Hi, my question is real sand and quarry dust. Which one is good for quality block? And how many blocks per bag of cement can I have in 5 inches? How many standard solid blocks can a bag of cement produce? Good afternoon. If you want to build a 2-bedroom house, how many blocks will be needed for the apartment? Of late, many buildings, paint and plaster wear off, sometimes to the level of the blocks themselves. Why? Hi, I'm Sami, watching from Nkwanta, Oti region. Please, I want to know which block is more preferable, hollow block or solid block, and why? So this is all for the interactive segments. But before I go, I have a question for the guest.
Okay.
Emmanuel, we know since blocks are prone to dampness, can manufacturers consider add waterproof mixtures to eradicate or mitigate the dampness effects on blocks?
Now, I think that is a brilliant one. Thank you for the interactive segment. This is a brilliant question. I mean, it's so prone with blocks that you see this dampness at the base of buildings. So at the production stage of the blocks, why don't producers add mixtures to it so that in use for construction, we will not see these issues of dampness? Sammy, you take that
one. The issue is, I mean, we add and others also add. It's just that sometimes it has to come up on request because it also adds to the price. So it maybe the block is supposed to cost us, let's say 8 cedis, but because of adding that admixture, it has to go 9 or 10 cedis. And you know, Ghana, the way people, I mean, obviously customers will complain that these blocks is that expensive. So if you know you have that peculiar problem on your site, you go to your preferred block factory, then you tell them they will add the admixture to it, even depending on what price you are ready to pay for, to prevent you suffering from dampness in the future after you finish constructing your building. So
it's possible to have these waterproofing admixtures, added to the block during the production stage? It's very possible. It's very possible. People are doing it. People are doing it. Yeah. Zato, you've ever used that for any of your projects?
No. I think with regards to this question, it's because of how we do our own constructions. We're not in Ghana here. You want to do it by yourself in your own house. That's when these questions are coming up. But if you approach your builder or you approach the one that you are buying the blocks from, the person will advise you on what's the best route to go. And blocks, we have different types of blocks that I was mentioning earlier, the ones that we make with cement-based blocks. There are some that they have added lime, there are some they've added, and they have even put them in water. There are different ways of curing blocks like that. Okay. When you use the block to even build, it will not necessarily be have dampness on it. So different things are there that you do, and not necessarily go and buy something that maybe the thing doesn't react well with cement. You may not know. There are materials out there that we don't know the combinations or how they bond to each other.
So the clear message is that don't think you can do it on your own. Seek expert advice in this attempt in all that you want to do when it comes to the construction of your house. Let's look at some of the few questions that were asked. I'll start with John. And John is saying, an interesting one. He says that sand that has been washed by rain, so literally the sands on the ground that has been washed by rain, can you use it for the production of blocks?
It's done. In fact, what they do, so we see a lot of people collecting sand after the rain, collecting sand from gutters and gather them, they pile them up and use them for blocks.
Is it ideal to use that?
No, just like we said earlier, you can't guarantee the granulation, you can't guarantee the quality of sand you are using, the foreign materials. So ideally, if you can, just buy. If you are forced that way, then make sure, for instance, you collect them from the rain, but yes, still if you can, wash them somehow and make sure you get a sieve to sieve them to get a particular to improve the the smoothness, for that matter, the granular sizes of the sand. Then you are sure that you have a good sand that you can use. By just taking them from the rain and barging them, producing your blocks, is not the best way to do it.
I'm even thinking to get the volume of sand needed for the production of it, because if you are looking at just the surface, yes, still if you are to hold it, you realize that you're still going to go deeper, introducing the part that has not been washed. Now, coming to what was also asked, and he says that he believes that the manual production is solid, is strong when you get an experienced model to produce it. Is that so?
So it all boils down to our perception or what we have been known to do. A hydraulic machine can one of the ways of checking durability of cement is the compressive strength. Now, who is testing to know that because an experienced person have done that your block is stronger than the one that you may go and buy, as someone was saying, you want to buy a block which is the quarry das block from a block factory somewhere that they use one bag to produce 60 blocks, and you are using that to compare against a human being. If a hydraulic machine press just sand without cement, just compress sand, that's like hydroform we were talking about last week. You just compress sand alone without necessarily putting cement, it's going to be stronger than a human being using shovel to hit, or the manual machine where they then you put the thing and use the top layer to hit it on. You can't say how did the person test it? That's the question you should ask. How do you test that to know that a human being can compress a block to be stronger than? And the ratio, what ratio was used? If you use one bag of cement to make 10 blocks manually and use the same one bag to produce 100 blocks on the machine, you can't say that the machine block is not durable.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, this one says that if you are building within a waterlogged area,
yes, what
particular block should you use?
The blocks has to be strong. That's so particular. They has to be fairly and very strong. So in the ideal sense, yes, you go for very good concrete blocks. However, I'm quick to say that may not, depending on the severity of your area, that is not can I say a remedy to fight the dampness you may suffer. There are other ways and other things you need to do to prevent dampness. That's if it is severe in your environment.
Just to add to what he said, we shouldn't associate dampness to the type of block that was used. You see, dampness also depends on even how your foundation was done. You can buy the most durable, the most quality block. If you just go and dig in the waterlogged area and don't even treat, you have not put any damp-proof membrane, you've not done any blinding, you've not done anything, and just lay the block right in the middle of the water. You have not even channeled the water. So the design actually can influence dampness in your building. And as last we were discussing, if there are other materials you can use, you could always go for other options, not necessarily blocks. But if you don't have any other option and it's the block you have to use, seek expert opinion on how you can treat or design your space, even the foundation coming up, that if you use any other block at all, you wouldn't still necessarily have dampness in the building. And I think the curing to how the blocks were cured to can also play a good role in that.
All right, so you can call the number on your screen and be part of the discussion. Hello, Ibo. We have Ibo. Hello, Ibo.
Hello, good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon, Ibo.
Yes. My question is, What are the causes of cracks and shrinkages on blocks after they have been used for construction? Is it the quality of the cement? Has it been reduced, or is it the sandy shelf? So I just want your panel to educate me on that. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Oyibo. So causes of cracks, leakages through buildings, blocks, causes. Is it actually taking place in the blocks or probably the plastering or maybe the beams or the columns? Just for Oyibo to understand.
To me, it's almost like touching of the causes of cracks. And you may eventually, the crack will show in the blocks, most often than not. But the fact is, it may not even, it's not due to the fact that the person used weak blocks or stronger blocks, So causes of, if you see a crack, it could be that, just like Umbrella even said, the foundation wasn't probably done, the concrete was weak, and so the blocks simply could not carry the load. And it's not because the blocks are bad in nature.
Yeah, so just to add to what he mentioned, I think if you see a crack, the first thing is you have to investigate where it's originating from and what's causing it. Before you can conclude that maybe you've gone to buy blocks from a very reputable block maker, and then once you go into and see block, you go and start attacking the block factory. No, it's not like that. There are structural cracks that begins from even your foundation. Even if you put concrete there, it will crack. You will see the concrete will crack. If it's a floor or a beam. So we have to investigate what is the cause of that particular crack. Is it a structural crack or is just a surface crack that we are seeing?
Okay, so let me talk to Joshua. Hello, Joshua.
Yes, thank you very much for having me.
Thank you, Joshua.
My question is, I have friends that are molding blocks, and then this is telling me that molding blocks with keep a stronger.
Joshua, please, your voice is faint. You would want to raise your voice a bit and start your question.
All right. I was saying that I have a friend that molds blocks, and then he's saying that molding blocks with concrete, stones or chippings, gives a better durability than that of using the raw sand or, the ordinary cement blocks. And I want to know, is it really advisable to add those things when molding? So I think part of the composition, block molding composition.
Okay, thank you very much, Joshua. Thank you. Thank you.
Is it durability? I'm sorry, is it cost effective?
Okay, thank you very much, Joshua. So Joshua is coming back to the same question again.
Like we keep stressing, yes, it's concrete blocks and concrete blocks. Any day, once they use the same volume of cement, go through the similar practices, you have the concrete blocks to be solid, more stronger than the concrete blocks. But like we keep saying, it doesn't guarantee also that anytime you see a concrete blocks, it means it's inferior. You can see a concrete blocks, and once it's not properly done, it's as weak as we can think of.
Okay.
Yeah, so just to add to what Joshua was saying, I think it also goes down to the quality. So necessarily quality, I was saying earlier on, is not just about the durability. So if you are doing a block that you are going to use to put on, let's say, your balcony, you are going to use on a cantilevered wall, or you are going 20 stories and you are going to put your blocks there. So the composition or how you do it, you can probably choose the concrete blocks to the concrete block, even though the concrete block is stronger, but you probably don't want a lot of weight on the floors. You don't want a lot of weight. If you are doing, as you were mentioning earlier on, partitions, you can just do your sand. You don't necessarily have to go and buy stones to kind of add to it. So you have to ask the person that is doing your design for you where to use what block. The building doesn't have to be the same blocks from start to finish. You can have the outer walls 6 inches. You can go inside and use 4 inches. You can go inside and use hollow blocks. If you are going higher, you can do the ground floor, solid blocks. Go to the first floor, you can do hollow blocks. So it depends on the person who have done the design and even what you, like the expert advised you to do.
Thank you very much. Let me also go to Dauda from Techimani. Hello, Dauda.
Yeah, good afternoon.
Good afternoon, sir.
Please, my question is the quarry dust. Can you mix it with the sand or only the quarry dust? You can use only the quarry dust.
An interesting one. Thank you, Dauda. So mixing the quarry dust with the sand.
Yeah, that is also possible. That can be done.
And why would somebody want to do that? Why would one want to mix quarry dust with sand? So on your screen is just a picture of quarry dust and that of the sand. So the sand on your right, quarry dust on your left.
It's all has to, if some do, there are areas. So for instance, assuming you have your block factory located close to a quarry site, like you are in Ghana, so you are talking about Sharman, where you have the Shire Hills. You know, getting quarry dust is very, very cheap. So there they can easily go quarry dust throughout. Now there are people at some areas, distances, that the quarry dust is also very expensive, but they have cheap sand. You know, so that is they that marry the two, because at the end of the day, the consumers or your target audience should be able to buy. If it's costing you and you alone, you are selling your block, let's say 5-inch block, 12 CDs, who do you expect to buy? So because you want to balance, you want to have some quality, but at the same time, the consumer should be able to afford, then that's where sometimes the balancing can be. Talking about quality, as my brother mentioned, I want to be quick. The curing processes are also very, very important.
Curing?
The way we cure our blocks.
What is curing in the first place?
Is that the means by which you are trying to delay the can I say the dryness for that matter?
So on our screen we see one workman that is pouring water on these produced blocks. So that explains it.
So this is one method of curing, just pouring of the water. Then you have other methods by way of you putting polythene sheet on that's covering it with polythene sheet, so that it prevents quick that's the drying of the material.
What's the essence of doing that?
Once, if you allow them to, you expose them to the heat, the water evaporates quickly, it shrinks, then obviously you have weak material. But it has to, in the dryness of the blocks has to be gradual. It shouldn't be quick, neither should it be too slow. It has to be smooth, gradual from temperature. So a day, 2, 3, then it's going like that. You don't have to do it.
So let me have Suleiman from Tema. Hello, Suleiman.
Yeah, good evening.
Good evening, sir.
Yes, I just want to know how many blocks can you use to build a 3-bedroom flat?
Okay, so an interesting one.
And then yes, that is the first one. And then with the second one, with the quarry that we are talking about, how will you know the quality of the block? Because the quarry that somebody can use the quarry that can use small quantity of cement and mix it, because it's just like the cement.
Okay, thank you so much, Suleiman.
Yeah.
So that is a typical quarry dust blocks on your screen, and
So he asked that you want to know how many blocks you need to do a 3-bedroom house.
But there was an earlier question that asked how many blocks you are going to use for the construction of 2 bedrooms. So this answers.
Okay. So I think you see, when you approach the question that way, it's not exhaustive. A 2-bedroom house can have a hall, it can have a kitchen, it can have a storeroom, it can have a study room, it can have
a prayer room.
A prayer room, you see. And a 3-bedroom house can just be 3 single rooms and 3 toilets. So you can't just give out to someone that, okay, a 3-bedroom house use 1,000 blocks, 2,000 blocks. So the person have to consult a quantity surveyor. So the person will ask you the building plan that you have done, what's the actual drawings, that will inform you to be able to calculate. So there's actually a whole study that you have to pass through to be able to get to know how many blocks makes up for a particular space.
Okay.
You just don't assume it.
We have 60 seconds to go. Your final words, I'll start with Samir J.
My final word is that there are quality blocks available. Blocks is a very good material to use in construction, and it's handy. Its durability in terms of helping the building to stay longer is assured. What we need is we need to get to the right places, buy the right blocks, and we'll enjoy our buildings after.
Okay, Zato?
Yeah, so I would still like to encourage everyone that always seek advice in something you are not expecting. That's what I would like to say. For instance, if you want to buy a block, walk to several block factories, consult their owners, and then ask questions. Get to know. You can do your own survey. So planning is key. In everything that we do, planning is very, very key. So you plan what you are going to use. You plan. The person can even educate you on several blocks that you can use and how it is going to be very effective for you.
Okay, so in our quest to get a quality block, one must ensure that where you buy it from, they are certified by the Ghana Standard Authority. Ask them if they've been certified before you buy from them. And like they said, the quick check, you just lift it above your chest, then you drop it. If it shatters, if it spreads very, very easily, then clearly it's not a good one. And that debate about sand and quarry dust is simply the production of it. If it's done properly, then you can have a quality one. Thank you so much for making time. That is Samir J, the CEO for Jashilo Construction Limited, and also Francis Zato, the lead project manager and also the co-founder of El Zato Group. Thank you so much for being with us. We'll be coming your way same time next week. Thank you.